Picture a barrier taller than a 4-story building, stretching farther than the distance from New York to Boston and back twice. Most people outside Japan have never heard of it. It's not a border wall. It's not military. It's a wall built for one purpose only: to make sure what happened on March 11, 2011 never happens again. At 2:46 p.m. on March 11, 2011, the seafloor off Japan's northeast coast lurched roughly 50 meters in under 3 minutes. A magnitude 9.0 earthquake, one of the most powerful ever recorded, had just ruptured a stretch of ocean floor hundreds of kilometers long. 30 minutes later, the consequence arrived. A wall of black water, reportedly reaching heights of around 40 meters in places, moving faster than anyone could outrun. Roughly 9 out of every 10 existing coastal defenses failed that day. Some of the most celebrated engineering in the world, including a breakwater that had cost well over $1 billion to build, was gone in seconds. Investigators later found the failure wasn't from the wave hitting the front of the structure. It was the water pouring over the top, chewing away at the unprotected back face until the foundation itself gave out. Survivor accounts from that day are hard to shake. People describing loved ones who ran toward the coast to check on family or property and were never seen again. But there were exceptions. In at least one coastal town, local leadership and existing barriers meant thousands survived where they otherwise might not have. That handful of successes became the starting point for everything that came after. Here's the part that surprises most people. This new wall was never meant to physically stop a wave the size of the 2011 tsunami. No structure built at reasonable cost could. Instead, it's designed to slow the water down, buy evacuation time, and reduce the number of places where a wave can punch through. The design isn't uniform. Height changes kilometer by kilometer, depending on wave modeling for that exact stretch of coast. Taller on exposed points, lower where geography already offers some shelter. Engineers reportedly ran hundreds of computer simulations per section before a single stone moved. And despite what you see standing on the beach, most of the structure is invisible. Only a fraction of its total height, often around 14 meters, actually shows above grade. The rest is buried. Roughly 440 separate contractor teams were assigned sections along the 400-kilometer route. The logic was blunt. If one team fails financially or falls behind, a physical gap opens in Japan's coastal defense. So oversight was treated as a life safety issue, not just a budget one. Before construction, crews demolished the old failed walls and studied exactly how each one had broken. Survey ships then drilled the seabed along the entire route because the ground beneath the wall isn't uniform. Some sections sit on soft clay, others on dense sand, others on bedrock, and each demands completely different foundation engineering. Some of that coastal clay is so soft it can't support the weight of construction equipment at all. The workaround: steel road plates laid down to spread the load, essentially letting heavy machinery float across ground that would otherwise swallow it. Much of the offshore foundation work happens underwater, in the same surf zone the tsunami tore through. Divers guide multi-ton boulders into position by feel and instruction, while engineers on the surface track progress by sonar because they can't see the work directly. They're trusting instrument data completely. Buried within that rubble foundation is a geotextile filter layer. Skip it, and the structure slowly bleeds soil and stability from underneath, invisibly, for years. Compaction has to happen in careful, shallow layers. An uneven or poorly settled foundation will eventually tilt the entire wall above it. Steel sheet piles are driven deep into the seafloor at the base of the wall, not primarily to resist the incoming wave, but to resist the outgoing one. Backwash, engineers say, is often more destructive than the initial surge Because the retreating water drags foundation material out with it like a vacuum. Construction crews learned to pre-drill and clear boulders from the pile path. A single obstruction can knock a multi-meter steel pile sideways and throw off an entire alignment. Above the underwater foundation, the visible wall is built from thousands of massive precast concrete panels, some weighing around 7 tons apiece, cast off-site to strict tolerances. Quality control is unforgiving. A hollow sound when a panel is tapped means internal honeycombing, and that panel, regardless of cost, gets rejected and crushed rather than installed. Every panel connects to a crown wall cap through steel reinforcement bars, turning what could be a stack of individual slabs into one continuous structural unit. That cap is also angled. Engineers describe roughly a 10-degree tilt, specifically so that any water that does top the wall gets thrown outward and away from the land side instead of crashing straight down onto it. Where the coast curves, standard rectangular panels won't seal properly, so custom-shaped panels, reportedly dozens of unique geometries, are CNC machined to close every gap. Rubber water-stop seals swell when wet, meaning paradoxically that the bigger and wetter the event, the tighter the joints become. Engineers are emphatic that back-face failure, not front-face failure, is what doomed most of the old seawalls. So landward drainage systems are built in deliberately, giving any overtopping water a controlled path away from the wall instead of letting it undermine the structure from behind. Offshore, the wall gets extra layers of defense. Interlocking concrete armor units, some in the tens of tons each, are essentially dropped into place rather than precisely set, and they settle into naturally stable configurations. The gaps between them aren't a flaw, they're the point. Wave energy dissipates as water is forced through the gaps rather than slamming directly into a solid face. Even offshore submerged breakwaters play a role, tripping and weakening waves well before they reach the main wall. 400 kilometers of solid wall would cut off every harbor, river mouth, and access road along the coast. So the design includes hundreds of floodgates, each one a potential failure point if it doesn't seal in time. Seismic sensors are designed to trigger automatic gate closure the moment strong shaking is detected, with no human decision required in the loop. Some gates are engineered to close under gravity alone if power is lost.